Vă invit să ne ridicăm împreună să citim cuvântul Domnului în Matei, capitolul 15, la versetul 21 până la versetul 28. Iisus, după ce a plecat de acolo, s-a dus în părțile Tirului și ale Sidonului. Și iată că o femeie cananită a venit din ținuturile acelea, a început să strige către el: „Ai milă de mine, Doamne, fiul lui David, fiindcă a mea este muncită rău de un drac.” El nu i-a răspuns niciun cuvânt și ucenicii lui s-au apropiat și l-au rugat stăruitor: „Dă-i drumul, cât strigă după noi.” Drept răspuns, el a zis: „Eu nu sunt trimis decât la oile pierdute ale casei lui Israel.” Dar ea a venit și i s-a închinat zicând: „Doamne, ajută-mi.” Drept răspuns, el a zis: „Nu este bine să iei pâinea copiilor și să o arunci la căței.” „Da, Doamne,” a zis ea, „dar și căței mănâncă firimiturile care cad de la masa stăpânilor lor.” Atunci Iisus i-a zis: „O femeie, mare este credința ta, facă-ți se cum voiești.” Și fiica ei s-a tămăduit chiar în ceasul acela. Amin. Vă rog să ocupați locurile. Eram la seminar și avusesem un lunch bun, nu mai aveam cursuri după masa, eram în ultimul an și tot etajul nostru s-a pus să doarmă. A venit fratele Oti Bunaciu, așa pe neașteptate, ne-a făcut o vizită și a deschis câteva uși și a zis: „Măi, ce duh de somn e aici.” I kind of feel the same way now. Cred că și vremea ne ajută, dar în seara asta o să facem ceva diferit. Noi am vorbit împreună cu frații la comitet și am spus, am ascultat vocea celor care lucrează cu copiii, cu tinerii și am spus că vrem să ne apropiem și de ei mai mult, nu doar prin slujirea pe care o fac ei, ci și prin ceea ce facem noi pentru ei. Și I'll make a deal with you. You don't laugh on my accent, and I'll speak in English. So what do you think? Is that okay with you? Will you pay attention, or would you like to sleep? What do you say, Philip? Do you want to rest your eyes? Tonight. O să încerc, așa în câteva cuvinte și pentru ei, să vedem dacă o să fie mai atenți, să vedem dacă o să le ajute. Eu o să întreb acasă pe ai mei, nu o să întrebați pe dumneavoastră. Și vrem să fim... Știți, eu mă gândesc la mine, când spun ceva în engleză, eu traduc din română în engleză. Așa vorbim noi engleza. Toți traducem din română în engleză în capul nostru. Ei traduc din engleză în română, corect? Și am vrea să vedem dacă acum o să vă fie mai ușor să înțelegeți ceea ce cuvântul ne spune. Bun. Let's start. Many times in the scriptures, there are some situations when you expect things from certain people, but you don't get them. And you don't expect from other people, but you get them. So, for example, Jesus came to Israel. Who was Israel? His people. They were waiting for him. There were prophecies, there were a lot of scriptures that were talking about Messiah. So you would expect that God's people will have faith. Exactly the same way that you would expect that the people who are in the church will be godly and will have faith. But what happens is many times many times we see the situation. We meet people, like random people outside the church, that will show us that the reality might be different than what we think. So this was the case of this Canaanite woman. She was not part of God's people. She was living in a pagan culture. So nothing different than what happens today. So we have the tendency to believe that, there are no more faithful people because most of them, are basically embracing the new culture. So this woman was not part of God's people, was part of, who are the Canaanites? Who are they? The enemies of Israel. And you would think that there is nothing good among the Canaanites. And we have this preconceived idea. We look at the people and we like to label them. And we look and say, okay, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. I mean, I saw people sometimes, and I do the same thing, and I think, that guy is awful. I'd rather stay away from him. And then you talk with that person and you realize that you are completely, utterly wrong. Because there are people where you don't expect them to be, that have what you don't expect them to have. So this is the case. I always love to study Bible characters because they seem so real. It's so easy to talk about things above your head, the things that don't touch you. You just talk about ideals. You just see just ideal situations. And we all talk about ideal things. And these things never really affect us, never really talk to us, never really change us. But we see this case here about a person who had an issue, had a problem. And you would think that that person will go to her people and have their help, have their support to solve her problem. But it's very interesting that where you don't expect, people are realizing a very important thing. That Jesus, God, is the solution. So this woman does what no other person did. She dared to cry, "Have mercy on me, the son of David." Well, it's a problem. If you hear that from a Canaanite, you'll think, wow, that's a big deal. Because David was not a very good friend of Canaanites. He kind of, fought them to death. All those nations, And you see this person that's making this shocking statement that she needs the mercy of a person that was their enemy. People think now that they are smarter and they have more resources and they don't need God anymore. So they think that you go to a doctor and he does an x-ray and he types something on his laptop and things will be solved. Man, I hate when I go to the doctor to see that he's more into his screen than to talk to me. That's not helping. But people think that the bigger the screen, the smarter the doctor. The nicer, the bigger screens. So they all rely on this wisdom of technology, wisdom of people, and they think they have solutions for everything. But let me tell you, there are problems in life that nobody can resolve for you but Jesus. There are issues that no man can have an answer to. No man can have a solution to those issues. And let me tell you guys, I know you're still young, but I know you have issues. I know you do, because I had to. I had issues asking myself, who am I? What am I doing here? What am I living for? What's the purpose of my life? What will I become? What will happen with me? We all have questions, we all have issues, and let me tell you, we all have this thing in us. We don't want to go to God. We do not want to. Because we try to solve our problems on our own. And I saw a lot of people who think they have the solutions for their problems. And let me give an example. You have a person who's dependent on alcohol. You talk to them and they'll tell you, I can handle it. I can handle it. And we all have this mentality, I can handle it. Because it would almost be the same thing as you see this woman going to an enemy of her to ask for help. So that's how we perceive God, as our enemy. The one who wants to destroy us, the one who wants to take away our happiness. You know, there are a lot of people who think that God is the enemy of our lives. If God wouldn't exist, our life will be so much better. But they come to a point, sooner or later, when they realize that they have issues way greater than themselves. And they have only one place to go to, and that's God. And let me tell you a secret. The sooner you realize this, the better. Because unless you don't want to waste your life running in the circles, you'll get to the conclusion today that my life is more complicated than I can understand, than I can handle. My life is way more complicated. And I saw a lot of people who think that they are their own masters. They can do whatever they want. Well, let me tell you, nobody does what he wants. Because this passage is talking to us and is telling us about a spiritual warfare. So you are either under the influence of God, either under the influence of the evil one. So this woman realizes that there is a spiritual entity that it's way stronger than us. So people have two extremes in talking about the evil one. One, they minimize his influence. Two, what do? They exaggerate his power. But we see in this passage that this woman knows that she has an issue that's greater than herself and knows where to go to find a solution. And there is a third thing. It's very interesting. Jesus didn't talk to her. And she started to scream. And the disciples said, let her go. And Jesus almost seems like he didn't care about her. He said, I was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. So this woman could have left. But there is a very important lesson here. Once you know where the solution is, never, ever give up. Never, ever give up. It's so easy. And this generation, you guys are extraordinary. You are a very blessed generation. You know when you are 10 years old what we learned when we were 20. You know that? You have access to so much information. You have so much room to develop yourself. And let me ask you a question. Did this make this generation better or worse? And I read an explanation to this. And they said, it's very interesting. They said this. There are certain things who cannot be handled by a person of a certain age. There are things that if you find out too early about them, they'll destroy your life. There is knowledge that can destroy your life. You understand what I'm saying? So, that's why when you ask the parents, can I do this? Can I go there? Can I do that? And they say no. You know, you think that your parents hate you. That's why they say no. Because other parents don't say no to their kids. And they say, you know, why he can do it and I can't? Oh, my parents hate me. You don't understand nothing. You are so yesterday. Are you with me? You with me? So, you say, okay. Well, you know, mom and dad, I mean, they're so behind. They're so behind, man. They need to speed up. They need to grow up because I know so much. When parents say no, they say no because they love you. Because they know that there is stuff that you cannot handle at your age. So there was a discussion. I have one guy at the office. He always likes to pick on hot topics. So there is a guy who's not married. He's like 60s. And he always likes to give him a hard time about why he's not married. Always. So he comes to me. There were like 3 or 4 people there. And he comes to me and he said, what do you think about dating? So I said, I don't have a very good opinion about dating. I really don't. Because there are some of you who cannot pick up after yourselves. And literally, you don't pick up after yourselves. But you think about dating. You know, isn't that strange? People who don't know what responsibility is, they want to be involved in responsible relationships. It's a matter of discerning for the parents and being willing to assume the responsibility of protecting their children. Believe me, guys, you'll have enough time to date. You can date every day with your wife. Am I right? Every day. Just wait for the right time. Right now, it's time for you to study. It's time for you to get a career. You know, get a job. Be a provider. Be a responsible person. And then will come the time. There are some interesting things in nature. There is basically a bird where the male builds the nest. So the nicer is the nest, the more attractive he becomes for the females. So there are things in nature that are teaching us. So let me tell you, young man, until you are ready to build your own nest, don't think too much about dating. Okay? It's as simple as this. Because there are issues, there are things that you cannot handle properly. You cannot handle properly. And we have too many kids that are raising kids in this country. too many kids who are raising kids just because they thought they are smarter and they know it better. And if you don't believe me, just go to school and ask your kids, how many classmates do you have with single parents? Do you want to be part of that statistic? Or do you want to be blessed? If you're looking for an answer, and if you don't like the answer, stick with the best answer. Don't just run away and think that you can resolve the issue. Because there was I know a case. There was a lady, she fell in love with a nice guy, and she went to the pastor and she said, I really want to get married with this guy. He's a very nice person, but he's not a Christian. And he told her, what's the Bible telling you about the uneven yoke? That was all. He didn't say anything else. And she got so upset. And she went away and she got married. And many years after that, she regretted it. Because if you go to Jesus for an answer, you need to take his answer and accept what he says, because he knows the best. So I see this woman going to him, and he seemed like he didn't care about her. I mean, honestly, I'm shocked that Jesus would talk like that with somebody. But he did this not for her. He did this for us, to show us how the true faith is sticking with him till the end. Even when it seems like he's rejecting us. And I know for many times we feel like God is not answering our prayers. He's not listening to us. But he is listening to each one of us. So, I see this woman as a person who realizes that her issues are greater than what she can handle. A person that realizes that there is a place, there is a person that has the solution. And even then, the answer was not the proper one, the one that she was expecting. She never gave up. She never gave up. And then I see that faith will always make the difference. Will always make the difference. Because there is no other thing that technology, that, our development in every aspect of life will value more than faith. It doesn't matter when you live. It doesn't matter where you live. There is one thing that never changes. The fact that faith changes everything. Faith changes everything. So, I want to encourage you tonight. Many times you'll feel like this woman. You'll feel like even if you go to the right place, you don't get the right answer. You know, and that hurts. It hurts. And I saw people leaving church because God didn't give them the answer they were expecting and when they were expecting. But I'll tell you one thing. This woman became an example for us that faith is what it takes to get the right answer from God. Not what I want, not what I expect, but what he wants for me. So I challenge you tonight to think about this. That in every time of the history, every background, people have problems. And they have problems greater than themselves. And many of them don't know where to find a solution. But once you know where to find a solution, never, ever give up. Stay there. Even when he says no, knock, knock, and knock again. Because what he's doing, he's testing you, he's helping you to grow in your faith. And faith changes everything. So, I know for you many times it's difficult. It's even boring because we sing, we pray, we speak, and you think this is not for me. This is for somebody else. I'll tell you one thing. If there is something that we want for you to have from us, that's faith. That's what we want to give you, to pass you the faith. Because faith heals. Faith changes. Faith transforms. And I know that we live a time when this is so rare. And it seems like it's even more, like gradually disappearing. But I'll tell you, in any time, in every place, God has people who are looking for him. Be one of those people. Be one of those people. Just have faith. Andre, you told me you have exams, correct? Have faith and study. Study and have faith. David, you'll soon be on your own, a grown-up man. Have faith. Never give up. God promised to give you a hope and a future. Philip, you're not limping today because God is the healer. He gives you power. And remember this when you grow up. There is no wound that God cannot heal. You know? And I can continue. I can pick on each one of you or pick one of you and tell you that as long as you are in the house of God, God will speak to you. And God wants you to speak or to talk back to him by faith. I see Luca, he's grown so much. I mean, like last year he was so short. Now I feel like I'm, but I'm thinking that in the same time, the problems are growing too. No? Problems. Luca, never forget. Always search for answers to Jesus. Well, it's good to have you here. And don't you think that we don't think about you and pray for you? It's easier for us to speak in Romanian. Okay? So we appreciate your patience with us. And we love to have you in the house of God. And we love to see how God is growing inside of each one of you. But we want you to remember always that no matter what, Jesus is here for you. He's here for you. And Jesus speaks any language. Any language. Even the one that you don't speak. You just feel. You just have that burden. You have no power to say a word. He speaks that language. He understands you perfectly. So I want for each one of our kids to understand that in the house of God, there is hope. And being together is a blessing. And Jesus is with us today. Okay, I planned to make it short. I didn't, so forgive me. I like to talk anyway. But I hope that at least one thing will stay with you. Faith. Faith. I meant to say some things for the mothers today and say, nu renunțați niciodată la copiii voștri. Niciodată. Purtați-i în rugăciune totdeauna. Pentru că Dumnezeu va asculta și rugăciunile voastre. Mulțumim, Domnule, pentru ziua aceasta. Mulțumim pentru copiii noștri. Măi, ați fost cuminți. N-ați prea fost voi atenți unii. I saw that too. Să știi că dacă vorbesc și văd. Știați asta? Dar am observat ceva. Mă duc acasă și îi întreb, ei știu ce am vorbit. Și am zis, măi, copiii ăștia sunt deștepți, măi, pot să facă mai multe lucruri deodată. Domnul să-i binecuvinteze. Dar ăștia mici au fost cei mai cuminți. Elsie, Jonathan, the best. Domnul să-i binecuvinteze. Domnul să binecuvinteze și pe voi. Mulțumim Domnului pentru seara aceasta. Mulțumim pentru o zi a mamei deosebită. Și Domnul să fie slăvit, Domnul să fie binecuvântat. Că, dragii mei, Iisus tămăduiește și astăzi. Și El vindecă și astăzi. Amin, frate Teo? Amin? Ăsta e Domnul nostru, slăvit să fie numele Lui. Haideți să ne rugăm înaintea Lui, să-i mulțumim pentru bunătatea Lui, pentru îndurarea de care ne face parte și rog pe Christopher să vină înaintea Domnului în rugăciune.